What's up, guys? Evan of 47 and welcome to Watch from Plus. Subscribe for more content coming your way. Check out my Patreon for early uploads and also check out my second channel for other uploads. Today we're reviewing a show called Ryoujoku Joshi Gakuen. It's kind of an NTR, not really, but it's more along the lines of Shimiyajari in a sense where you have two people doing the training of students and other adults to become prostitutes, which then they in turn make profit off of. It is way darker than the other two shows I've covered, which I don't know how I'm gonna upload this to order because I've recorded 3 videos this week, so I don't know how that can work. But this is on the darker end for sure, and the more convoluted end because it's one of those way back when animations. This was made in 2003, and I've noticed like a lot of the later animated shows, they are a lot less plot intricated, the more focused on the animation and the pixelation and the 4K. Catching it in 4K is more valuable than actually catching a plot. It actually has some sort of sense to it, you know what I'm saying? This one, very black male filled, right? We have our boy Naganuma right here, right? Not our boy, he's just an evil villain overall. And Hanyu. Naganuma and Hanyu are partners, but we don't know about this until the beginning of episode 2, which is the final episode of the series. And the reason we don't know about this is because how this series ends, it makes the ending a roller coaster ride because of how hidden the partnership between the two are. Now, me revealing that does kind of take the sting away from it. However, I have to reveal it now because it'll make sense later on as I describe the story. We have two people, right? You have Yasuko and Chisato. Student is going at it with the student counselor Naganuma, and he's like, I have to get another girl. I have to. This is boring now. Yasuko's like, who are you gonna go after next? She says Chisato. And we flash Chisato now. She's has this Hinata haircut, whatever, and she's just talking, she's just basically, just living a normal life as a person, just talking to her friend Tomo, who is a part of the student council, right? When in the midst of them talking, Tomo has to go. She has to go to the student council meeting, and she said, I'll see you later, Chisato. Have a nice day, goodbye, and just leaves. And after that, Chisato gets called to Naganuma's office, and Naganuma basically goes, hey, I heard you're being a bit of a delinquent and kind of being mean to teachers, so I'm here to get you straight, right? And then of course, he asks, as any student counselor would obviously, given in his universe how it works, he asked to see her underwear to see if it's up to code, because according to some finagling rule whatsoever, Article 17, subsection 4.5, sentence 3, no women should have any color underwear on the campus, and if they do, they are subject to be searched and punished for it. That just sounds so perfectly synonymous with logic and reason, right? So he follows this, and of course, he says that line, and Chisato's like, no, why the hell would I do that? Get away from Naganuma, pull out his last desperate attempt. He's like, well, fine. If you're going to reject me, then I'm gonna have to leave a mark on you, which will make you bitter until you graduate. So which one would you choose? What does that mean? It's really ominous. Like, does that mean like he's going to like pull some demonic, supernatural, like Garu Gakuen curse whatsoever, implant a demon inside of her? What does that mean? I don't know. But we never find out because Chisato just complies with him, and now he basically has her on his roster as like a sex slave, more or less. And at this point, Chisato is starting to act weird around Tomo. So whenever Tomo brings up Naganuma, Chisato just gets this type of look. It's very shocked, very rattled essentially. They've gone on it long enough to the point where Yasuka and Chisato are like tandem partners going at it nonstop with Naganuma. Just that's it. And whenever Tomo's looking at this, because she's friends with both of them, she's like, well, that's weird. They're both hanging around the student counselor a lot more often than they were before Chisato met the student counselor. I'm going to find out what the hell that's about. So she goes to Naganuma himself. She says, hey, you're acting sus here. Are you the imposter? Naganuma's like, well, I don't know what you're talking about, but I heard you were stealing. She shuts that down because she hasn't been stealing. And then Naganuma's like, fine, I found this condom in your bag from a Love Hotel. She shoots that down because she hasn't been having sex whatsoever, according to her own, resources. And finally, back against the wall, Naganuma's like, well, according to the guidelines of section article sword 47, you are wearing color underwear, and I have to check. If you are wearing color underwear, you'll be due for punishment. And he tries to do that. She shuts that down as well. You got Tomo over here just flat out rejecting our main villain like a god. She's just batting all his attempts. And in the last attempt Naganuma tries to stop Tomo from snitching is just outright just in his office. Tomo just defends himself, kicks him in the nuts, just leaves. Now she has video evidence. Now after all that happened, right, we flash to Naganuma in the bar reminiscing on what just happened. He's mad as because he let her get away. And at this point, Tomo's going to turn the evidence to the student council board, and that student council board is now going to investigate him and see what the hell he's been doing to these students. And at this point, we are at the student council board right now. And at this board, they're discussing Naganuma being associated with students who graduated and just went straight to prostitution. Like no like college phase and then prostitution phase, like straight like D1 bound to prostitution. Like it was like direct pipeline after associating with him. And they're like, oh, well, I mean, we researched and nothing really came up, but you know, it's just a concern. So with this massive amount of evidence in their hands, they're just sitting on it, right? And the reason I'm bringing this up is because a member on the board is Tomo's mother, whose name Junko. Now, when Junko hears this news, she's a bit hesitant because number one, she doesn't know who the hell Naganuma is. And number two, she's kind of doubting that because her daughter is also in the school and she doesn't think her daughter's gonna turn into a prostitute because she hasn't. So therefore, from personal evidence, Naganuma must seem innocent. Junko was on a train, right? Let's flash back a couple days before her in this meeting. She was on a train. This dude named Hanyu came up, saved her, brought her to a bar, and just was reminiscing on the fact that he saved her. It's like, ah, god damn it. I'm glad I saved a wonderful lady like you. I didn't want you to fall into the wrong hands or anything. Wink, 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 wink. Now, mind you, while they are at the bar, Junko has a husband, so keep that in mind. So while they're going back and forth flirting, he said something to basically get her to his house, right? And before they went to his house, he drugged her. It was at this point I'm starting to realize like, oh, so this guy wasn't just a good Samaritan and he's not here for the sake of goodness. He was in the intro scene next to Naganuma because they're partners and because he's also evil. So once he drugs her and at his apartment, he now has her wrapped around his finger. Since, again, Junko is Tomo's mother, we flash to the current bar scene I was mentioning earlier, where Naganuma's now mad that Tomo basically got away and had evidence to throw him under jail. Hanyu meets him at the bar, says, hey, what's up? I have a new client here, and shows Junko herself in the photo to Naganuma. Now, there's a connection. At this point, Naganuma and Hanyu have a plan to get Junko with the other girls and just have them go on full rotation, become prostitutes from there on out, like 5 cards at. At this point, Tomo is now home and she realizes that Junko isn't there as well. Her father has a bunch of illicit photos of Junko on his desk. And it was from Naganuma himself, despite Tomo and also the father and ruin the marriage. It's a trifecta right there. You could call it triple entendre, but it's not because it's not a pun at all. At this point, we have Tomo running out of the house because her father is just distraught, drunk, sick, unwell, and just losing it. So when Tomo goes out, she's like, oh my God, Naoki, my life is a mess. Oh my God, thank you for supporting me. Goodbye, you. And runs back home and sleeps it off. Next day at school, boom, Chisato's like, hey, Tomo, come with me and meet my boyfriend. You know, at this point, Tomo's like, I haven't talked to my girl Chisato in quite some time. I'm going to meet a boyfriend. Who knows? And she casually does some awkward foreshadowing, which was kind of poetic. And then they meet Naganuma. And then she gets tortured by Naganuma and drugged as well. And then Hanyu brings out her mother. They also get tortured, eat their at the same time, and that's the end of the entire story. It's basically what happens here is it gets to a point where we finally think that Naga's gonna get caught because the student council is talking about him, and Tomo has literal evidence of him trying to implant condoms to make her seem guilty so he can copulate with her in his office. But Hanyu happened to run into Junko, her mother, and have information on Tomo to give to Naga so he can in turn make her vulnerable and loop it all around so he can torture her and get revenge on her back. So therefore he has no evidence against him, therefore Naga's in the clear yet again. And that's the end of the story. I just again, this goes all the way back to when I mentioned stuff that's just it just rubs me the wrong way. Why is this so, what happened here? What the, it just felt like I watched like some dark documentary that had a bad ending. That's what it felt like right there. It was Ryoujoku Joshi Gakuen. It was definitely a show that I watched and a thing that happened on this timeline. Yeah. All right, guys, I don't have an outro, but if I did, it wouldn't matter because no one makes it fun this video. Good night. That was a mouthful, bro. Holy macaroni. God, you know what I'm saying? Like, what did I just, what do I do with my life now? What do I do with my life now?